All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Just going to give it a minute or so for folks who registered to filter in, but thank you so much for joining us this evening for our parent webinar. Great. Well, it seems like we have a sizable group, so I want to take advantage of the time today. So why don't we get started? Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening for our CHCH parent webinar. My name is Catherine Saunders. I'm Director of Enrollment Management here at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall School. We're so excited that you decided to join us this evening to learn more about what it's like to be a parent for a CHCH student. This evening, we're really hoping for you to get key insights from current families and parents of CHCH students, to learn from everything about academics to student life to what it's like to just be a parent of a student here at CHCH. So thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, we have some questions prepared for our wonderful panelists this evening, but certainly want to hear from you, the audience. So please feel free to submit your questions via the Q&A box, and we would love to answer them live here tonight. So feel free to engage with the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to get to your questions throughout the presentation. But without further ado, why don't we jump into our panel? But first, would love for our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves. So I'm going to call on folks to introduce themselves, and then we can get started. So Lee, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Lee Peterson. My son, Avery Peterson, is a sophomore. He started last year. There wasn't a middle school at the time he started. He absolutely loves the school, and we've enjoyed everything there, from theater to he tried soccer, he's tried music. There's so much to offer. So I'm thrilled you're here. I really hope you enjoy the school as much as we do, and I look forward to hearing your questions.
Great, thanks. Grace?
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Heinz. I'm the parent to a daughter, Casey Heinz, who is a senior. She came as a freshman. She was at Shady Hill and then went to Carroll and then ended up at CHCH. I'm also parent of a daughter who went to Cambridge School of Weston. So I've got an interesting perspective on both schools.
Thank you so much. Alyssa?
Hi, my name is Alyssa Kazin, and I'm the mother of Jordan, who is a senior this year. And he came up through the Carroll School and started at CHCH as a sophomore. And he just transitioned really well. He loves the school, and he's done really well. So I'm looking forward to hearing the questions and I'm getting to know you better.
Thank you so much. Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy Maniscalco. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions. I also have two alumni, a 2019 graduate who is now earning her master's at Boston College, and a 2023 graduate who's at Northeastern. And both of my girls came from public school, so I'm happy to share that public school perspective.
Thank you so much. And finally, Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Fortin. I'm the Associate Director of Admission at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall School. It's nice to be here with you tonight, and looking forward to hearing this discussion.
Great. Awesome. Thank you all so much. So why don't we dig into some questions? And again, audience, feel free to send us some questions along the way. But just thinking about, going back in time to thinking about Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall and eventually coming to Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. So what was the transition like coming from the previous school that your child was at to attending Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall?
My son Avery was at the same school for 10 years. He was at Dedham Country Day School. Small school, small teacher student ratio. He had people who really knew him very well, so we were very nervous about coming into a new environment. And Chapel Hill, I guess, I don't know if I'm able to say this phrase, but is a judgment-free zone. I don't know if everybody's hearing all these ads for fitness right now, but that's what it is. And we just immediately fell in love with the school. They were welcoming, inviting. My son is very quiet, and he has a few close friends, and Chapel Hill has gotten him to open up quite a bit. He was in the play. He's tried things he wouldn't have otherwise tried, like soccer, and is really, really enjoying his experience there. Kids from across the globe come to Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. So he has this amazing opportunity to meet kids from everywhere. My brother went to Chapel Hill, so we had some idea of what the school was like. My brother to this day still has several friends from the school and had a really wonderful experience there. It was life-altering for him. And so that made it easier for us to make this decision as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Lee. So thinking about accommodating, your child's growth and development at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall, could some of you talk about how Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall accommodates both academic support and interpersonal support, but also challenges your child? So what kind of challenges have your child faced academically? Like, how are they really able to support, but also challenge your student?
Maybe I'll start off in here. If you had told me several years ago that my daughter would be taking AP history, I would have told you you are absolutely nuts and that there is no way that that would happen. She is in fact taking AP history and being challenged absolutely day in, day out by the amazing Mr. McPhail, who is like, honestly, I feel like a member of our family. And it's just been awesome. She's had the support she's needed, whether it was when she started and was part of the SAS program. But they've also pushed her and challenged her when they said, you're capable of more. She has accommodations. CHCH was super helpful in making sure as she prepares to take the AP test, she gets the accommodations she needs. So they supported us through that process. But again, it's been this awesome combination of figuring out when she needs the scaffolding and when she needs the, quite frankly, tough love. And I think CHCH has just done an amazing job of striking that balance.
Fantastic. And just a follow-up question for folks in the room who are new to CHCH. What is SAS? So could someone explain what SAS is and if your child has participated in it and how that's gone?
I guess I can jump in here and just say that the SAS is a academic support, and it's a small group format. And my son Jordan came from the Carroll School, echoing what Lee said. It was just a small school, and teachers knew students very well. And so this is just a place where the students can not only get academic support, but also kind of debrief things that have happened on a social level, and also an opportunity for that one-on-one challenging of the student, because that teacher who is the faculty member who isn't responsible for every student gets assigned an SAS class. And I think they probably do some work around lining up students with, like-minded or in same classes and similar needs, so that there's support there, both academically and socially. So SAS was really supportive.
And it's a program that the school will support, assessing and working with you on whether that's the type of support that your child needs. Many kids, I'm sure you guys actually have the numbers, but a high portion of kids start off with it. And then most, like Casey, I think Casey did it her freshman year. I don't think she used it after that. Some kids do use it. in their sophomore year. But again, it's what each child needs, and CHCH partners with you, their advisors, et cetera, to figure out, is it the right fit and over what period of time?
It's great because it's during the school day, so you don't have to worry about outside, tutoring after school hours, interfering with extracurriculars. And it just seemed like it's seamless and normal for all the kids, so it's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So just in speaking about academics, thinking about how we are a small school, how has communication been like for you as a parent with your students' teachers and the school? Like, how do we communicate to parents, and what does that communication look like with your child's teachers and just with the school in general?
I feel like this really sets Chapel Hill apart from many other schools. So I've had experience at Dedham Country Day. My other son went to Milton Academy, excellent schools. Chapel Hill sends messages every week, pretty much, and they'll update you about your son's, or in my case, my son or your daughter's progress. And so you'll know, your child will know ahead of time before that note comes out that we'll be getting the note, so they can be prepared to say, I've taken care of it, Mom, which most of the time my son says. If there's a missing assignment or something that needs to get finished or focused on. And it's also a time, quite frankly, for the teachers and everybody to celebrate accomplishments, which I feel has been so wonderful for my son, who, I think it's easy to struggle or to hear about struggles or areas that you need improvement. But we don't spend enough time, nobody spends enough time telling everybody how great they're doing. And I think this is really an excellent piece that Chapel Hill has mastered.
I would just simply second that. I don't have anything particular to add, but just from my experiences with other schools too, I do think this is an area where it spikes, and not only from the regular notes, but even, like I said, Mr. McPhail reaching out and sending words of encouragement or talking about how well she's doing, or saying, hey, they're going to get into a tough phase right now and he's going to really push her. And, he wants me to be aware. So again, I would just second what Lee said.
Yes, I would echo that as well, just to say, everyone, all of the teachers are really, and faculty, really open with their contact information, very responsive on email or phone calls. It's very easy to get the support or the help or the direction you need.
I'm just going to jump in and give a little bit of background that the school sends a weekly sort of newsletter out to the whole community with highlights of things that are happening for the upcoming week, any special events, any weekend activities that we want the students to know about, to get ready to sign up for. Then also all new students, ninth graders and new students, receive a weekly progress note from every teacher every week, which they review with their advisors at the beginning of the week. And then those progress notes are given to or posted on our portal for parents to review later in the week, like Lee was mentioning. So the idea is really that the students are in the driver's seat as far as their progress and understanding how they're doing in school and understanding where they stand with their teachers. We're teaching them, to advocate for themselves, to ask questions so that, they're not waiting till the end of the term or the trimester to find out what their grade is, but they're sort of always up to date, but then also keeping families and parents informed and updated about how their student is doing. So adding that layer of support, and then, hoping that as they get older in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, they're seeking out that additional support if they need it, and taking some of those progress notes weekly, just so that when they go to college, they're ready to talk to their professors and advocate for themselves or check in. But it's nice, especially in ninth grade, to have that, I think, for sure, for the newer students that are just getting used to the school and the structure and the schedule and everything else. It's a nice check-in every week and communication for families, I think.
Thank you so much, Shannon. That's very, very helpful. So, in thinking about, we were talking about academics, we were talking about communication, all thinking about, wanting to make sure that your child is feeling supported, but also confident to kind of take on more as they progress in their educative experience. So, how do you feel as a parent that Chapel Hill has built confidence in your child, whether that's academic confidence or co-curricular confidence or just interpersonal social confidence? How is that kind of manifested for your child so far?
And I think it's a huge part of it. And I would just sort of add to that the skill of self-advocacy. I mean, I've got a kid going off to college in the fall, and I'm 100% confident that she will have no problems going to faculty office hours, that she will have no problem advocating for herself. She knows exactly what she needs, how to ask for it, not to be shy about it. And again, that that confidence, that understanding what you need and who you are is just critical. And I do think part of that is just growing up in high school, but I think CHCH absolutely supports that journey. And whether that be socially, finding your people. I saw there was a note in the question. I do think kids find their people there. It's a small school, but there are a lot of different walks of life. And so I do think and it's a very accepting and tolerant school. So I do think that kids find their confidence both socially and academically, and in the arts and sports. It's a great place, especially I would say for women to pick up sports who've maybe been intimidated and haven't done it in the past. Casey plays soccer and lacrosse, and many, many kids started playing that sport in high school. And the team loves that. They're like, great, never played before. Wonderful. Here's a stick. We'll show you what to do with it. So I do think that evolution is part of the CHCH journey.
I wholeheartedly agree with Grace. And I think from the moment they get there, you'll be so shocked when your child comes to Chapel Hill, how quickly they get to know your child. And by the first parent-teacher conferences, they'll be describing your child like he's been there for years. And that really boosts confidence because your child feels known and seen and heard, and they're met where they're at. And there's such an individual approach to it. From my son's experience, they honed in on his strengths that he didn't even really know he had. And they grabbed a hold of them and boosted him up and makes him feel very, very confident, secure about those skills. So it's really wonderful.
Yeah, Jordan has done very well. He's had a great trajectory. His senior year is now boarding. But when he started sophomore and junior year, he just was welcomed into the fold very easily and naturally. It was something he was a little concerned about, having come from a school that he went to for 9 years to come into this brand new environment. And he just was loved up and loved on, and his confidence automatically blossoms from that. And I think that, there's a tremendous amount of school pride and school spirit. I know that every school has school pride and school spirit, but there's something about Chapel Hill that feels really, really special and welcoming and caring and loving. So I think it's easy. It was easy for Jordan to blossom and do well there and be accepted and excel academically as well as socially. And I feel like he is very much ready for college, even though we're not even there yet, but I feel like he's ready. He's well prepared.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I guess just to kind of bounce off of that question, in one of the questions in the Q&A surrounding kind of finding friends and having fun, one of the questions was, do students have fun? So Alyssa, I know that Jordan is a boarder and we have a lot of weekend activities. So could you speak to the fun aspect for students, but also feel free, Lee and Grace, for having day students to chime in too, because day students also have a lot of fun as well. But could y'all speak to the fun aspect and community aspect here at Chapel Hill?
Yeah, there is a lot of activities. there's study hall every day too. So I think, that's a really great added addition. I just wanted to say that. But they have activities where they go into town, they'll go to museums, they'll go, they've done community service. It's bowling, it's just movies. The kids get to also participate in get involved in making suggestions about weekend activities as well, and evening activities. So I could just go on and on about the activities as well. And there's a real family feel among the kids. Jordan is on the basketball team, and we always remark that it's so much more than a team. Those group of young men are really bonded, and I'm sure that's how it is in many of the different groups and teams that are there. And I think the activities make that, possible.
I agree. I think a big advantage to the school is then again that there's boarding at the school, and my son is a day student, and so he could go on the weekend and he can participate in the activities. I don't have to worry about him wandering the neighborhood looking for something to do. There's transportation to all sorts of amazing activities on the weekends that day students can participate in, and he gets to again meet kids from all over the place and experience new things. And that is also part of gaining confidence and feeling a part of the community.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So another question that came in to the Q&A was surrounding kind of college placement and college counseling. So I know some of you have seniors. We have a double alum parent on the call as well, who have had children in college and graduated from college. So can anyone talk about kind of the college counseling experience process, how things are going and how things have gone, and how you feel like Chapel Hill has kind of stood out in that process?
I mean, to me, this has been the most remarkable part about CHCH. I mean, Brooke Fink is a genius. So how she runs the process is pretty amazing. She is very tuned into each kid and what they need and what is the right environment for them. And she really listens to them and drives the entire process around them. So it starts in January of your junior year. There's sort of an initial kind of conference call where she gets everyone just understanding the drill in the program. You then go through the process of starting to work with her and to find a list. We then did tours, etc. Meanwhile, junior spring, as part of English class, they are writing their essays in English class, sort of a longer form that eventually Brooke works individually with all of them to get that tightened up. So when they're done with their junior year, their essay is done going into that summer. You're looking at more schools, and then there's the boot camp. So what boot camp is it's optional. You sign up for one of two sessions that happens basically the week or 2 weeks before school starts their senior year. And effectively, they come in and they get the application done. She encouraged them to do work over the summer. Many kids don't. Some kids do, but you come into boot camp and you are doing any supplemental applications you need to do, any additional, how do I talk about these activities? How do I position myself? And so literally by the time they're hitting the books, their senior year, they're done. They are 100% done with their application process. So that stress is away. And you're then just going through the process of, at that point in time, you've seen a lot of schools and you're starting to narrow things down, and you're having a lot of back and forth with her, where at first my daughter was like, no, I think I want to go far away. Well, after looking a bit more far away, she was like, I don't want to go far away. I want to stay closer. I was like, I don't think we have enough on our list. Brooke's throwing us more. We're doing some more visits. But again, the whole application process was done. And, at the end of the day, we got to a list of 8 schools that we all felt great about. We debated, like, do we do early decision? All of that whole process we worked with Brooke on. I was texting her regularly on things. We ended up not doing early decision. We did early action. She already got into 4 schools. It's just the whole process has been so smooth and so thoughtful. And Brooke is so knowledgeable about such broad range of schools that it's just an amazing experience that honestly I put up against any school anywhere, and I'm like, there's just no way it's done better anywhere else.
And if that wasn't enough, she also sends, newsletters about, the federal, aid and what's going on there. And she sends weekly updates, don't forget about, but they're not too aggressive. They're perfect emails to help us, focus on what we need to do. And they're super helpful. And like Grace said, she really sits with each student and really helps the student understand themselves in a really remarkable way, and then write a really remarkable essay. So I felt very confident. And there are things, without, throwing Brooke under the bus or giving away her magic tricks, there are things that she knows to help navigate the process that is very helpful. That if, when you know, and if you don't know, then you sort of, those doors and windows close. So she's incredible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So in thinking about, all of your children are at different stages of being at CHCH or graduated from CHCH. So taking a bit of like a rewind button and thinking back to the, independent school search process and landing at CHCH, what stood out to you that helped you ultimately decide that CHCH would be the place for your child for the next, foreseeable future? Whether that was, 3 years, 4 years. We have some parents who are watching here who are looking at our middle school. So what was it that kind of really stood out to you that was ultimately a deciding factor of why CHCH was the best fit for your child?
It was
I mean,
really.
go ahead, Lee.
Go, Grace. It was important to me that my child had individual attention, because that's something he'd been used to, and I didn't want him to lose that. And so that was a really big factor in my decision-making process. There's a very small window of time. I think somebody already mentioned, I'm sorry, I forget who, that some things are natural about high school. But you can pretty quickly, things can take a turn in high school. And I think you need the right environment for your child. You have to trust your instincts when you're looking at these schools and ask yourself, is this school going to take care of my child when things head south? Because we're all talking about the great times, but every child who has a high school experience, we've all been through high school, have experienced very difficult times as well. This school will support your child through those times. I think you're measured in life by how you handle difficult times many times. And CHCH models for these children just how to handle those things. So, and that's not an easy thing to do.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think CHCH is, to be honest, kind of a unicorn. I don't think there is another day school that has the same institutional philosophy around support plus pushing a kid. I think there are pockets in other schools, certain situations you can get with a fantastic teacher that will provide that, but institutionally, everyone on the same program, working off of the same script, understand that every kid's going to trip at some point in time. It's really just a matter of when. So let's just anticipate that and be ready and be the safety net and support that they need. I think CHCH is a unicorn.
So similarly, oh, that again.
I was just gonna jump in for 1 minute. So I working in admissions, I don't often talk about my children in interviews or when I'm at events, but I think it's important for me to share. So I have my oldest daughter was diagnosed with a severe generalized anxiety disorder in second grade, and we struggled for a diagnosis for a learning difference. And it was like we were dragging her across the finish line. We were doing all kinds of things outside of school. And we ended up at a small I'm drawing like a magnet school, not a magnet school, like a charter school. And then we were looking at high schools and we realized like we're in a town where it's just a tremendous high school. And was she really going to shine? Was she really going to feel like she was seen? Was she really going to get all of those things? And so we ended up looking at independent schools and landed at Chapel Hill, where she went and really took advantage of like everything that Chapel Hill had to offer. Small classes, relationships with teachers, required co-curricular program where you were building social relationships without even realizing you were building social relationships. And she soared, and she graduated with a full merit scholarship. She had never played a sport before. She played volleyball. She made JV her freshman year, her first year. She made varsity her second year. She went on to play 2 years of D3 volleyball at LaSalle College, and she now just completed her third year as our head coach at Chapel Hill. So that's what I tell a lot of families, like Chapel Hill is such a great place. And one of the biggest things is wanting to be there and wanting to be part of it. But on the flip side, my daughter Layla did not have any learning differences. She had a huge group of friends. She was a straight A student. She was in public school and she was thriving. But from the time she spent on campus and with the kids on campus and watching her sister, I think she saw something there that she realized she wasn't going to get anywhere. She could have gone to the high school and taken all AP classes and it would have been great. But here she came and she did go outside of the curriculum. She did distinguished scholars programs, and she did independent studies, and she played sports she would have never played before. And she met people and friends that she never would have encountered outside of our community. And I share that because we do an unbelievable job of, in my case, two completely different children, completely different learners, but both of them walked away with the same experience. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Amy. So, Alyssa, as the boarding parent on the panel, do you want to talk a little bit about how, because Jordan was a day student for 2 years, now he's a boarder. How has the boarding program kind of shaped his experience, prepared him for college? Like, how has that process been, being kind of on both sides, being a day student parent and now being a boarding parent?
I think it's been good for both Jordan and myself. The nice transition. And he's very independent. And there's enough support at the school. There are faculty who live in the dorm. And the transition was very easy for him. Again, there's enough scaffolding and support in place. And so it was not difficult for him. And getting used to the routine, study halls at night from 7 to 9. And it's just been actually really, really helpful for him to get ready for college. More of, only to go deeper into it. This was sort of like just to get his toes wet. And he comes home a lot. I live in Jamaica Plain, so he's home fairly frequently, but he also stays on the weekends to enjoy the activities.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's always nice to get the perspective of both sides of day student parents and boarding parents. So it's wonderful that you've seen both sides.
He's enjoyed
of that
both.
coin.
He's enjoyed both. Yeah.
So in thinking about your kind of culminating this experience, again, thinking back to putting yourself in the shoes of our viewers at home, thinking about potentially learning more about Chapel Hill, or there's some applicant parents who are on the call. So what advice would you give to parents who are thinking about sending their child to Chapel Hill? What kind of advice would you give them in terms of their experience of getting to where you're at?
I would say just do it. I mean, obviously go through the process, do your homework, talk to schools, listen to your child. But I think, again, the thing that I would focus on is you will find pockets of this in other places, but I think it's something hard to find holistically. So when you're doing your homework and talking to other schools, look out for that, listen to that. Don't just say, well, great, this teacher seems great or this administrator seems great, because I'm sure they are. But think about holistically, is what they are offering really truly the right fit for my kid now, and right fit for what I hope my child grows into over the next couple of years. But I would encourage you all to take a closer look. I would absolutely say that, I'm more than happy to speak to anyone offline that is useful. But again, do your homework, and I think you will be very excited by what you see here.
I agree with Grace, and I think that absolutely do your homework, go to as many events as you possibly can, observe the school in every way you possibly can, ask your questions. There are no, questions that can't be either answered or looked into. And I've found the staff and teachers very accommodating and very willing to have frank and candid conversations with you about whatever it is that's on your mind. So yeah, I agree.
I guess I would just add, I think it's important for all of you to know that Grace and Lee and myself, we didn't talk beforehand. We had no idea what the conversation was even going to be, what the questions were going to be. And yet we all have shared a very similar experience. And so it's very telling. And I don't think there was any special selection. I'm sure they tossed out the invitation to a number of parents, and this is who showed up. So I just think that's important, and that's an important takeaway, that just it speaks for itself, the authenticity of the experience across the board. Thank you.
Wow. Well, it could not have been said best. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful panelists, Lee, Grace, Alyssa, and Amy. Your insight has been so helpful in this process. And thank you so much for sharing all of your stories and your experiences. And we truly hope to the viewers at home that this has been a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about our school and our community from the parents who see it every day through their children. So we thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to speak on our panel for our wonderful panelists. And thank you all to the viewers at home for taking the time to join us this evening. Thank you all for your insightful questions. And we hope again that you learned a little bit more about our really wonderful special community here in Waltham. And without further ado, that kind of closes out our panel. Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you do want to reach out, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our admissions office. Any one of us would be happy to speak with you and answer your questions. Otherwise, we hope you have a happy, healthy evening, and we hope to hear from you soon. But again, thank you so much for joining, and have a wonderful evening. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.